We all have something to share. No share with Dr. Dave.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Now Share with Dr. Dave podcast. I'm Dr. Dave A. Cornelius, your host, affectionately known as Dr. Dave. In this episode of the Dr. Dave podcast, we're going to explore some critical strategies for securing and transforming organizations through the AI journey. I have Dr. Gail Ferreira with us today, and she's going to introduce her 5 strategy play for AI adoption. And so we're discussing some essential steps to protect data, secure AI models, and really apply like a zero trust framework. As AI becomes a major cornerstone of business operation, we'll start to dig into discuss, how do we preserve some privacy for our customers, for our organization, bring the board members, the leadership into the conversation, and then, probably have some actionable advice for leaders to take away and move forward as they're engaged in bringing AI as a practice and gain some value for it. So we're going to offer some insights into building trusted AI application and maybe adopting some robust security practice for a more secure and resilient AI landscape. So, I want you to welcome Dr. Gail Ferreira. What's going on, Gail?
Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for hosting me today. I'm really excited to share my knowledge with you.
Well, I know it's going to be awesome because, we've been doing this for years, you and I, on our podcasts at conferences, we run into each other and we have such great topics that we cover. Yeah, so I'm going to kick it off because, the fun thing that I like to find out is like if you have a song or spoken word that's inspiring you today. And if you have a song, will you hum a few bars? And if not, then maybe you can recite a few words, that you're inspired by today.
Well, I think the song that comes to mind for me is The Edge of Glory with Lady Gaga. I don't think I'm going to sing it with you, but I am, given the fact that we're into the football season and almost at the playoffs, I guess, in another few weeks, and really kind of at, really in a new year and a big transition phase. I do think that this is like a really great time to start really having the conversation about AI because the ship has already sailed there. And we definitely need to be able to be prepared to, reap the benefits and this new glorious technology that we call AI.
Yeah, but so which song? Do we get any words from the song or are we just getting the title?
Well, I can say the words. I'm not going to sing, but I know some of the bars. Which I'm on the edge of glory, and I'm waiting on this moment with you. So I'll state it. I'm not going to try to sing.
Hey, fair enough. I was trying to see if I could reel you in to sing a little, but I guess that's not going to happen. So, hey, do a 30-second elevator pitch. Introduce yourself. I know lots about you. I'd love my audience to know more about you.
Sure. Yes. My name's Dr. Gail Ferreira. I'm also a doctor of management, just like you, Dave. We both went to the University of Phoenix School of Advanced Studies, which focused a lot on transformation in terms of really learning all of the leadership theories. So I know you're very well versed with what I learned at the University of Phoenix. My professional experience has been mostly in consulting, with my last full-time role in management consulting with the Boston Consulting Group, have also worked at Deloitte, and then I've started my career with Oracle Consulting, really more on the technical side. So I am at the intersection of business and technology, and I've been leading a lot of transformation initiatives for the last 25 years or more. And, really, whenever you're approaching any kind of a transformation, you've really got the same kinds of principles in place in terms of how you're dealing with handling the innovation, handling the disruption, handling the culture changes. And with AI, it's really going to be no different, although it's just going to move faster.
That's perfect. So let's talk about the role of data protection in building secure AI systems, and help to explain the challenges organizations will typically face in that area.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. So really for artificial intelligence or AI, data is the oil that really, gets AI to work. So it really is at the foundational core, and making sure that you have the right data, that it's clean data, that it's accurate data, and that it's secure are three very important things to consider when you're installing a new AI technology, or when you're, setting up your infrastructure to get ready for AI, applications with your organization. So really starting out with that clean data foundation, making sure that you've got everything in place, that it's simple to retrieve just with basic commands, and then also that you've got your security platforms in place as well, will make your AI transformation successful.
Yeah, because when we think of responsible AI, and I'm just throwing this in, that it has to be trustworthy, where we have privacy and security all built in. Make sure that it's explainable, that people can understand exactly what this algorithm is doing. So there's some level of transparency and accountability. And the third part that we want to think about is it being human centric, right? That there's some safety, there's fairness, there's ethics that are a part of that thinking, in terms of like protecting the data itself. So when we think about adversarial attacks on AI models, how does that really work? And then what are people doing to like safeguard against those security attacks and threats?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, there are still a lot of new security regimes being put into place, or security strategies, since AI is so new. A lot of the CISOs that I have worked with in the past really are not necessarily that feeling that secure to go ahead and put AI in at the application level for their organizations, or to handle their security constraints and things like that. So they tend to be very conservative and perhaps not use AI in certain places, but use it in others. So again, if it's going to be something that's at the heart of the organization, and it really hasn't been tested yet in a less adversarial area, then they're going to err on the side of caution. So really, taking a look at the robust strategy, the key there is communication really with the executive team, because the CIOs and the technical people are going to want to lead technology and innovation and keep that in place. But the CISO needs to go in and actually temper the conversations, and really, ask the corporation to really err on the side of caution, especially now that here in California, SB 1037 was just vetoed by Governor Newsom, which meant that developers have free and open access to just develop without any constraints on AI applications. And there's not a lot of security mandates or protocols in place. So it's going to require that the security executives and the security leaders are going to go in and really make sure that they're having the right conversation with leadership, so that they just don't go full bore ahead too fast into innovation without really thinking it through.
Yeah, that's huge, because coming from the technology side, earlier in my career as a developer and architect, we want to go fast. We want to use the latest stuff, and it's it's frustrating sometimes when we run into a CISO who's going like, stop, wait, don't go, no, you can't, and you're like, but why? and they're going to tell you why. So that's good. I'm glad that some of the ownership also is on the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, and really beginning to inform the organization on what's really needed, so that they are protected and safe, and people's data is protected. But this zero trust model, right, which is starting to gain a lot of traction, how does it really apply to AI, and why is it crucial for its security?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. Really getting back to the basics and the definition of zero trust, which means never trust, always verify,
Right.
runs very true with AI, because even as you're getting your reports back or results back from doing your AI queries, you need to fact check. So if you don't, go in and really verify what AI is feeding you, and this is where it really requires the human with the knowledge behind the keyboard. So there's that aspect of zero trust that you can put into place in terms of principle. Was just actually funny at a conference talking to the CIO for the city and county of San Francisco. 5 of the attorneys used AI with their cases, and it would spit out the wrong results in court, and they did not verify. And they ended up, obviously not a very good result there in the courtroom, where, the AI gave them some answers and some ways to proceed, but it was incorrect and they did not fact check.
Yeah.
So just keeping that principle in mind, that AI is really just a tool. The human behind the tool needs to have more knowledge than the tool to make sure that your facts are in place. And then really with security practices as well, really making sure that you're going in and, when you're getting, when you're seeing how your AI applications are running and how things are going, to really go through your QA processes and make sure that they're in place before you actually launch the operation. So again, just constant fact checking, constant testing, constant QA is really necessary in order to really make your AI transformation successful.
Yeah, and I could only imagine that, as you're training, the AI algorithm itself, we have supervised and unsupervised models, right? Where supervised, you kind of like know what the answers are, and unsupervised, it's doing discovery. And so I could imagine that in terms of policy, right, that the CISO may want to put in place, like, wait a minute, you guys need to do some supervised training of this model first before you go do unsupervised, right? Just to make sure that you're talking about the integrity of data and the integrity of responses, that there's an opportunity for the organization to just lean in and make sure that things are validated and verified, right? So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I was just agreeing with you. That's a great point. But yeah, you can go ahead and proceed.
Yeah. So privacy is a top concern for companies and users, right? So when we think about, privacy policies or techniques, what privacy preserving techniques do you recommend for AI systems to maintain, data confidentiality, because when we think of like personally identifiable information, PII, right? That's really important for the medical industry. You talk about GDPR, that's really big in the European Union, which gives consumers the ability to say, hey, please erase my data. Even the California Consumer Privacy Act, there are all these different techniques or policies that exist. Dig in a little bit about data privacy.
Yes, great question. I would say, again, using a lot of the same principles in place for any other application. So, first of all, encrypting, encryption is really important to keep your data private. Having good data encryption, either the hardware devices or some kind of software in place. And then also, selecting the right combination, either synchronous or asynchronous communications when you're actually transmitting across. Again, really having the proper test cycles when you're transitioning into using AI applications, and making sure that you're really transitioning correctly is important as well in order to move forward. So,
okay, good. And so that's great to know that leveraging some of the good habits of verification and validation practices to ensure that we have good quality and trustworthy data is in place. So as we start to think about the board, right, of an organization, that governing body that sits over most public and even some private companies have a board that helps to govern and provide guidance in how they should proceed. What's their involvement with AI security, and how should really the CISO leaders emphasize when communicating AI strategies to board members?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, having worked as an advisor to many CISOs as well as CIOs, I see one of the issues that they have when they're actually going to the board is that a lot of the individuals on the board don't spend that much time on security concerns. The conversation at the board meetings is a lot more on the business side, a lot more about revenue streams as well, rather than having the conversations about security and trust, which really needs to, again, be stressed, especially when going to an AI transformation. So that's where the CISO often has a very lonely role to play because they're often the outlier. The CIO role has been, more well-known. And then even above that, the CFO, right? The finance, the money, the bottom line, those have always been the more essential individuals on the board. So the CISO is kind of the new person at the table. And they really, again, to your point before, they're kind of the bad guy going in saying, hey, we need to hold off. But if the CFO is saying, hey, we're going to make 100 times more profit if we launch this application in January. And then the CIO is going, oh, yeah, innovation first, hell yeah, right? And then you've got the CISO coming in saying, wait, then, obviously they're the bad guy. So again, just having those right conversations, making sure that the board is educated into the issues, right, and the problems that can occur, and the fact that they can actually lose money if AI is not implemented correctly, because they can lose business, they can lose reputation, trust, et cetera, which for some companies is the North Star above all. For example, Salesforce, their North Star value is trust. So if they lose trust with their customers, or anything's down, in terms of operations or availability, then that's when the C-level folks start coming online and talking to people, because they've really violated their own values and principles and what they're promising, as a value proposition to their customers.
No, that's excellent. I know when we kicked off, we talked about your 5 strategies. So I want you to probably articulate a bit more about your 5 strategies, and what practical steps an organization take to integrate those 5 strategies that you communicate to CISOs and others into their AI development pipeline effectively?
What practical steps? I would say to really just keep in mind the 5 strategy plays that I had outlined in my presentation that I gave last month at a CISO conference.
We need to hear those 5 strategy plays. I don't think I articulated it at the top. If that's okay for you to bring those in.
Yeah, so the 5 strategy plays are really, again, you mentioned data. So the first one is really making sure that you have the solid data in place, making sure that you have that foundational element, because again, data is the oil that's really, going to feed the AI engine. And if it's not efficient, or you run out of oil, or you have poor oil or dirty oil, then your engine is going to die. So again, data is the first thing. Privacy would be one of the second things, in terms of really making sure that you have various privacy in place, and making sure that, you're using the right forms of encryption, et cetera. Zero trust in terms of never trusting, always verifying. And that's just really having all of your testing in the platform. Also during your development practices, making sure you're using the, DevSecOps and AppSec and all of that. But then actually, when you're doing your end user testing, making sure that what the engine is feeding you is actually verifiable data, and then stressing, the education to the end users as well, that they really need to fact check, again, at the end of the day. And then also in terms of, education, training, all of those types of things, that's really important in terms of being able to make sure your end users are there and the cultural elements are in place. And then the fifth one is really the board conversations, making sure you have the right conversations with the board to, again, show them the value of really making sure that you have the right strategies in place and you have the right strategies to actually secure your AI transformation elements.
That's excellent, because that leads right into the next question of thinking about these strategy plays. How do you see them evolving as AI technology advances and new security threats emerge?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mentioned 5 just to kind of keep it the top 5. There's many other strategy plays as well. I would say, first of all, being able to move quickly and move fast, because AI and the transformation to that, the ship has sailed and it's moving even faster right now. The winds of change are really up and running, and we're going to be seeing a lot of other technologies blending with AI, such as blockchain and everything else. So really making sure that you're able to execute quickly, in terms of your various strategy plays, making sure you mix and match the strategy plays correctly for an organization to, ensure that you're using the right blend of strategies. And then in terms of also making sure that you remember the cultural elements and the people elements. Been, hearing a lot of presentations in the fall from a lot of the chief AI officers, and a lot of them are stressing, you really need to focus on the human element in order to really move your AI transformation forward. So don't forget the people. And again, there's many others, but I would say those are like the 3 that come to mind that you would really want to incorporate to move your AI transformation forward.
And it's interesting that you brought up blockchain. So let's talk about cryptocurrencies, right? They use decentralized networks, and that could oftentimes clash with data privacy requirements. So how can we leverage AI in these networks to ensure data protection aligns with, regulatory standards like GDPR?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of the problem is because there hasn't really been a lot of regulation in certain development houses, that, the first thing to do is that an organization is going to have to pick the regulatory guidelines and standards, because there's many, and, they can be confusing. And then make sure it's the one that fits your model best. So again, you mentioned GDPR, which is probably used more in finance. So really, making sure that it's a set of standards that the organization is probably already familiar with, and that's already been approved, for large regulatory financial institutions.
Yeah. So, and just bringing the board back in, the board level awareness and involvement with cryptocurrency or blockchain. When we think about these companies, these cryptocurrency firms, involving board members in AI and security strategy, it's really important, right? It's really vital, especially when with all this increased scrutiny from regulators and stakeholders. So what advice would you be able to provide to ensure compliance, like maybe with the SEC,
audits. So really extensive audits and more frequent audits. I think the problem with a lot of security operations is that they run audits, maybe on a biannual basis or things like that. And in the world of AI, that's really just not fast enough. So finding ways to, and we're both in the agile world, so we all know about incremental. So making sure you do incremental audits, which is going to just find the specific areas that you need to focus on, to test against the compliance. So finding those hot spots and finding the increments that are going to provide the most value and provide the most safety to the organization, I think would be something that would be really relevant to learn.
Yeah. And, like you just brought up that we both live in the world of agility, business agility. And one of the habits, as I like to call them, or practices, is definition of done. So I guess if we add the audits to the definition of done and that the compliance work, it would be tested as frequently as every sprint or iteration, which could be 1, 2 weeks or up to 30 days. So that should give some frequent feedback, huh?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, you could definitely set up sprints to be running your audit processes. And actually, at one management consulting firm, we did actually do that with the financial audits for CFOs and other CPAs as well. So we did find ways to do that. So it has been done in the past. So you could certainly use the same principle for a security audit.
Great. So any final thoughts for our audience, for anyone listening?
Yeah, so I think, again, we're on the edge of glory with AI. So we're going to be really moving into some new realms of opportunity and innovation. So it is really exciting times, but it is very risky as well to organizations. And without really having those, the voice of caution with CISOs and other cybersecurity executives and individuals, even on the testing side, that are going to ensure that everything is safe and secure, you can really end up having disastrous results, and it can explode quickly. So I think really moving forward thoughtfully, but obviously, with speed and accuracy is going to be really important going forward with AI. But it is really exciting. I think just the fact that, the laws are opening up more in the favor of the developers is just really setting the stage for really focusing on innovation. And again, next year we're going to have lots of changes with the new administration coming in and other exciting technologies. Looks like probably going to be used a lot more, such as Bitcoin and all those types of things, is going to be a big technology change. So I think we need to just sort of buckle up and get ready for the ride.
Well, not only a big technology change, it could be a big financial change in terms of currency, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So good. Well, thank you, Gail, and hang in there for a second for me. Hey, thank you for joining us for the Securing the Future of AI, 5 Game-Changing Strategies Every Leader Must Know podcast episode. Dr. Gail Ferreira, thank you for sharing your insight on this topic with our community. Just want to let you know the Now Share with Dr. Dave podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Audible, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out my latest book, Generative Leadership to Thrive, and also the incredible story about Ashanti Mwendo. It's a series. It's a fictional series, and you can find all of those on Amazon.com. It's in audiobooks, Kindle, print options. And again, just thank you again for listening. And remember, the journey to excellence is ongoing, and every step taken with the audience, with an abundance mindset, is a step towards thriving into resilience and our future. As Gail said, Dr. Gail Ferreira said, we have to buckle up. So change are coming. The winds of change is coming.
We all have something to share. No share with Dr. Dave.